So looking back at your chart, sorry, that homework question stuff was chaotic. I realize you can do every single one. It's this sheet that you are not, that will be a little challenging. So for simple trinomials, if you look at your orange chart, this is part of your 3-term questions. Anytime you have 3 terms, it's called a trinomial, and we split them up as simple trinomials and complex trinomials. Simple trinomials are the easier ones. And the reason why is because there's no number in front of x squared. The number in front of the x squared is just a 1. I have to tell you that every single teacher at RH King teaches this a different way. You may have learned it a different way, and if that's what you're comfortable with, absolutely use it. I'm going to show you the way I like to teach it, and so if you like it, you can use this. But if you go on YouTube factoring, there are probably like 30 different methods out there, all of them valid, all of them, all of them work. You just have to find the one that's most efficient for you. All right, so let's get started. Let's look at question number 1. The first thing you're going to do before you start any question is ask yourself, is there a greatest common factor? So question number 1 does not have a greatest common factor, which means we can go ahead and start factoring right away. I know that this trinomial, when I factor it, it's going to end up giving me 2 binomials, because that's the whole point of factoring. You get the answer, you're trying to figure out what the question is. So here is my strategy. I look at the first term and I ask myself, what 2 numbers or variables have to multiply to give me x squared? And there's only one answer for that. Yeah, it has to be an x and it has to be an x. I then look at the last term, which is a 12, and I think of all of the factors of 12. What are factors? The numbers that multiply to give me a 12. So I'm going to go ahead and write them down on the side. They would be 1 and 12. What else? 2 and 6. What else? 3 and 4. I think that's it. Anything else? 1 and 12. Yep, 12 and 1. So you can flip these around. It's the same thing. Okay. So once you figure out all the factors of that last number, you ask yourself, what 2 numbers add or subtract to give you the middle? Okay, so now you look at all the pairs of numbers and you ask yourselves, which one of these adds or subtracts to give you an 8? So I just go through them in order. 1 and 12, can I ever add or subtract 12 to give me an 8? No, so that can be eliminated. 3 and 4, I'm skipping to the last one. 3 and 4, can I ever add or subtract those to give me an 8? No, so I know the numbers have to be a 2 and a 6. And if we're trying to get to -8, what sign do I have to put in front of the 2 and the 6? Good. So we're thinking that the numbers are going to be -2 and -6. When you add those numbers together, it should give you the middle term. When you multiply those numbers together, it should give you the last term, sum and product. So that was a fairly easy one. We know it's going to be -2 and -6. What's a really quick way to check to see if we're right? Correct. Every single factoring question can be checked to see if you're right. You would just redistribute, you would FOIL, and if you get the original question, then you're right. You guys can do that on your own, but it will be x minus 2 and x minus 6. Does it matter what order I write them in? No. So you could have written x minus 6 and x minus 2. It's still the same thing. Questions about that? Is that kind of the method you guys learned?
Yeah.
Did anyone here learn decomposition?
Yeah, it's just a number break, right?
Yeah, but did anyone learn it that way? You did? Okay. And if you like that method, then you can definitely, you don't remember it. Perfect. Then use this method. Okay, question number 2. Now again, I know the first terms have to be an x and an x because x times x is x squared. I'm going to think of all the factors of 15, 1 and a 15, 3 and 5. Is there anything else other than no. Can I add 1 and 15 to ever give me the middle number, which is an 8? How about 3 and 5? Yeah, and I'm trying to get a positive 8. So what sign am I going to put in front of both of them? So this has to be a plus and a plus. If I add those numbers, I should get the middle term. If I multiply those numbers, I should get the last term. And so it's pretty obvious the numbers have to be x plus 3 and x plus 5. And if you wanted to check, you would just FOIL it again and see if you get the right answer. All right, we're going to keep questions about that. Is it all coming back to you? You know that Celine Dion trend? I love that song. That was like the song back in the day, and now you guys are ruining it. Okay. These middle questions are the same, but they're also different. Can someone tell me, without reading the huge title that I've given this section, can someone tell me what is different about these questions? What do you have to do before you can start solving them? Justin? Yeah, and so that should always be the first step. You should always remove a greatest common factor before you start factoring. In this question, what is the greatest common factor? There isn't an x in every term, so it would not be an x because the 18 does not have one. It would just be the number 3. And so we would be left with x squared plus x minus 6. Now, what do you do in a question like this? Well, once you've taken out the greatest common factor, that 3 is useless to us. We have to include it, so we're going to keep it around. But when we're factoring it, we're only going to be looking at everything inside of the bracket and nothing else. And you can notice inside the bracket, we have a simple trinomial. So we're going to do the same thing we did in the previous 2 questions. I know x times x is going to give me x squared. What are the factors of 6? 1 and 6, 3 and 2. Okay, and remember, everything we're doing now is we're going to be dealing with the trinomial that we have factored. Okay, we're not looking at the original question, we're looking at that one. Can I add or subtract 1 and 6 to ever give me a positive 1? No. How about the numbers 3 and 2? Yeah, what can I do? Positive 3 minus 2. Let's see if it makes sense. Positive 3 minus 2 is positive 1, and positive 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So those numbers make sense. And so we're thinking it's going to be x plus 3, x minus 2. And you could go ahead and you could FOIL them to see if this is actually correct. Okay, go ahead and try question number 4, and then just look up when you're done, see if you get the same answer as I do.
This one you do that on so this is one that we start. Like it takes a long
The next set of questions looks a little bit different because we now have this random y at the second part of the question. I actually don't worry about the variables at all. I just consider the numbers and the variables all just fall into place. So again, I'll show you my strategy. This is a simple trinomial because there's no number in front of the x squared. So I know that to be true. I'm going to go ahead and start factoring it, and I'm going to get an x and an x over here. I'm going to think of all the numbers that multiply to give me 15, and those are 1 and 15 and 5 and 3. So which one of these pairs of numbers will add or subtract to give me negative 2? 5 and 3, and what signs are we going to use? So negative 5 plus 3, right? Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Negative 5 times positive 3 is negative 15. So I know that the numbers that are going to go here are negative 5 and positive 3. And we basically factored it. The only thing we haven't accounted for is that there is a y squared here and a y here. And to deal with that, all you're going to have to do is try to make the last 2 terms a y squared. And to do so, you just need to add a y here and a y here. Because now the last term is going to be 15y squared. The middle term just works itself out. So to prove that, we're just going to FOIL and see if it actually works out. If I were to FOIL this, it would give me x squared plus 3xy minus 5xy minus 15y squared, which is x squared minus 2xy minus 15y squared. And this is my check. I'll just move that over. Okay, so that weird letter in the middle and at the end, all you need to do is just add a letter to the last two terms and it'll work itself out. Go ahead and try the next question. I'll do the solution on the board. Oh my goodness, this floor is very interesting. And I can't even close the door. Thanks, COVID. All right, go ahead and try this next question.
Never mind.
Okay, so remember how I was trying to show you the challenging questions in the previous homework and I messed up? It actually was in this homework and I've actually given us an example to show us how we do this. So this was challenging grade 10, but now in grade 11, it's normal. So you definitely should know how to do this. If I gave you a question like bracket a minus b squared minus 4 bracket a minus b minus 12, your first instinct might be to go ahead and FOIL this and distribute and collect like terms, etc. But I'm going to say, fight that urge, don't do it. There's an easier way to do this question. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replace the binomials with another letter. So see these binomials, a minus b and a minus b? I'm going to just call them x. So I'm going to say, let x equal a minus b. I know you can't see that. I'll change the color. So when you rewrite this question, you're actually going to get x squared minus 4x minus 12. Does everyone see what I did there? And how I made the question so much easier? What's that? I told you this right now before you tried your homework. Now, if you were to factor this, you would get an x and an x, and you would get a negative 6 minus, oh no, you wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. And then once you have factored it, you get x minus 6 and x plus 2, because negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12. And you can now bring back the a minus b. So maybe I'll bring it up here because I don't feel like I don't have enough room. Oh no, everything's going haywire. Well, the reason why I do put a double bracket is sometimes you do need it if the variable is on the second term, then you might have to distribute the negative. But in this question, you didn't. You're in my recording and it's going to be like, rah. I'm kidding. Okay, so these are the questions which I wanted to highlight the last time. I have another set of like, this time it was 39. And those challenging questions are these ones here. So 37, 38, and 39. You're going to have to replace the binomial with another letter and try it.
Can you go up a little so I can screenshot the questions?